Hi, I'm Stock Investor Davis. Welcome to the channel. We're going to take a deeper look at TSM stock today, focusing on its earnings per share and price to sales ratio, both currently and based on the guidance management has provided, which in this case will bring us to period ending March 31st, 2024. Then we'll close by applying our findings to its current technical chart. Before we get started, please tap that subscribe button. And if you find this video informative, give it a like. There are chapters below if you want to skip ahead. And if you have any questions or notes, let me know in the comments. To begin, I have at the top TSM's current earnings per share for the trailing 12 months, totaling $5.18 per share. The quarterly earnings making up that figure are in the top right. Once this was calculated, I pulled the company's past earnings and PE ratio results. Upon review, I decided to focus primarily on the past 3 years, as I feel this reasonably depicts the company and its current state. I'm using that data to make the assumptions and estimates going forward. With that in mind, I then established a reasonable range in terms of its PE ratio during that time span. In this case, a reasonable PE ratio range is between 16 and 30. Also noting that the average PE ratio is around 22. With our range established, we then multiply those figures by its current earnings per share, which is $5.18, giving us a fair price range of between $83 and $155. Based on the price today, $112, it appears to be trading at a fair price, slightly favoring the buyer side. Moving to the company's current price to sales ratio, we have a similar setup to the previous slide with its current trailing 12-month sales at the top, totaling $69.3 billion, and the quarterly sales on the top right. We then pulled the company's current shares outstanding, 5.19 billion as of its last earnings report. We divide those two figures to arrive at a sales to share figure of $13.36. We'll come back to this figure shortly. Similar to the previous slide, I pulled the company's past sales and price to sales ratio results, finding a reasonable range of between 5 and 10 times sales over the past 3 years, with an average of about 7 times sales. Based on our current reasonable range and the current sales per share, we're able to calculate that a reasonable share price is between $67 and $134. With the current price around $112, it's a fair price. Let's now look at the forward guidance. Looking at management's Q1 2024 guidance, they have provided the following projections for its quarter end March 31st, 2024. First, revenue of between $18 and $18.8 billion. We're going to use $18.4 billion as this is the midpoint. Second, gross profit margin between 52 and 54%. We'll use 53% as it's the midpoint. And third, it's operating profit to be between 40 and 42%. We're going to use 41% as it's the midpoint. Using these metrics, we can estimate that its trailing 12-month net income at quarter end will be about $27.06 billion, and earnings per share will be about $5.22. Using this information, we can estimate a reasonable forecast of what to expect in terms of a fair stock price. Taking this new earnings per share figure, $5.22, and multiplying it by our reasonable price to earnings ratio range of between 16 and 30, we arrive at a fair value range between $84 and $157, which makes the current price of $112 look like a fair deal, slightly favoring the buyer side. Pivoting to the price to sales ratio based on management's guidance for its first quarter 2024, we can see the shaded portion is the same as the previous slide, so I'm going to focus on the unshaded portion. With management's guidance, we can calculate a future projection for sales per share of $13.69. Then multiplying this forward guidance by our reasonable price to sales range of 5 to 10 times sales, resulting in a fair value stock price between $68 and $137. The result being that the current price of $112 is within our calculated fair value range, slightly favoring the seller side. As a summary for our earnings per share calculations, at the top we see where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for its first quarter end 2024. Then, as a summary for our price to sales calculations, at the top we see where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for its first quarter end 2024. Finally, to wrap up by looking at the technical chart, I've added some boxes to highlight areas where to me it makes sense to either add to the position in green or to take profits in red. Otherwise, we see the stock is near the center, but on the upper half of an uptrend beginning November 2022. Alternatively, it has been trading primarily between $85 and $104 since January 2023, and only after reporting earnings has it gone up and over that consolidation range. We also see some strong resistance around $118. Both viewpoints appear reasonable and within our established fair value range. I'm okay with the price. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.